we're doing question and answers for Facebook Live. Really excited to do this, so we're going to crack on straight with the questions that we've got. So, number one, who are you considering for key people moving forward? Well, I think there's lots of key people. I think many talents in this party, and I think what we've got to do is we've got to unite as a party. We've got to build that strong team. We've got to get everyone together, and whoever the new leader is, if it's me or if it's one of the other guys, then we're going to have to sit down and work out who's best in which positions, in which part of the shadow cabinet that it would be. And I think, Stephen Woolfe has got to play an essential part of that, because Stephen is an amazing political talent. I also think we should be utilising Douglas Carswell's skills, as our MP. I think he's got to be getting a lot more support than what he maybe is at the moment. And also there's other people as well. I think Patrick O'Flynn, I think some of the other people that are really involved in politics. And of course, Paul Nuttall. If we can get Paul Nuttall to come back and do a bit more, I think that would be great, because Paul's been a great servant for this party and he's done a brilliant job as a deputy leader. So definitely Paul Nuttall should be part of that mix. Okay, so the next question. What do you think of May's hesitation to leave the EU? Well, I think it's absolutely appalling. That's the honest answer. I think we've got to be there as a strong, credible opposition to hold Theresa May's feet to the fire and make sure that we get what 17.4 million people voted for, which is Brexit. And we want full Brexit. We don't want a diluted Brexit light. We've got to make sure we don't get compromises on the free market or compromises on free movement. We want true Brexit. That's what we're going to get. And the way we do that is being by a strong, effective political party that takes council seats and can take general election seats as well. And if we do that, then the Labour Party and the Conservative Party are going to be very, very worried about UKIP. And our third question, what steps would you take about the accident emergency in Hartlepool? Yes, this is something that I campaigned on very strongly last year at the general election. I think it is an absolute scandal that we haven't got accident emergency services at the Hartlepool Hospital. I've been campaigning on the issue for nearly 2 years. We've obviously had a Facebook group, the Save Hartlepool Facebook page, which I invite you all to go and join. And I think it is very, very important. We have got to be the party, and I said in the speech earlier on about the NHS, we've got to be the party that not only protects the NHS and opposes the privatisation started by Blair, carried on by Cameron, but we've also got to be the party that fights for local hospital services, at that local hospital. And I think accident emergency and all those critical care services are very, very important. And under my leadership of UKIP, the NHS will be a top priority, because the NHS is one of the greatest institutions in our country, and we need to make sure that it's well funded and all of the services are at every single hospital. Okay, question 4. What will you do for our armed forces? Well, our armed forces, very, very important question. Very personally, I'm very passionate about our armed forces, and I'm very proud that at the 2013 party conference I did second a motion to make sure that our armed forces personnel will never go homeless. And that actually became party policy. So I was very proud, one of my proudest moments in politics, as a matter of fact. I think our armed forces are treated absolutely appallingly, not just by the previous Labour government, but by this Conservative government, who've cut 20,000 troops from our army. And I'm very, very clear. I think what we have to do is we have to bring those 20,000 troops in our army back. We have to make sure we're able to defend our own people and defend our own country. And, we've also got to make sure that Britain is not the world policeman. Our job is not to go around the world, changing countries' governments. Our job is to look after our own interests, defend our own interests and our own country. But we need a strong armed forces. We'll bring back those 20,000 troops. That's what I'll be campaigning for if I'm the next leader of UKIP. And also we will bring in that Help the Heroes fund to make sure that our armed forces will not go homeless once they come back from active duty. So we will treat our armed forces much better than Labour and the Conservatives. The armed forces are a priority for UKIP, and they're a priority for me, certainly. And if I become the leader of UKIP, they will be one of my top priorities. So, question 5. How can we reform the NEC? Well, yes, this is a hotly contested issue, this. I think we've got to have more democracy in this party. We've got to reform the NEC and not scrap the NEC, as some candidates are saying. I think having an appointed board would take away too much power away from the members, it would give too much party to the party leader, and it would be very, very undemocratic. So I want to see the NEC reformed. I want us to stay a democratic political party. I want the party members to be making the decisions and being the boss in this party, not rich businessmen. And I think we've also got to make our party more democratic. We've got to actually have the policy debates at conference. We should be a proud, open, democratic party, not a centralised monolith like Labour and the Conservatives, who do everything from London. And we should also make sure that we have policy voting on our policies so that actually members can get involved in the future direction of our policies. So that's very, very important. And lastly, we need that £5 membership to really drive home and build a true people's army and build a mass movement political party for UKIP. 34,000 people in our membership, that's not good enough. It's got to be a lot higher. We need a lot more people to be members of UKIP, and we've got to make it more exciting to be a party member of UKIP. So let's make our party more democratic, and that's what we'll do. Okay, next question. So question 6 is East Coast Fisheries. What would you do to reassert traditional fishing industries? Yes, I think the European Union has made an absolute mess of our fishing industry. You know, the fact that we can only fish in about 5 to 6% of our waters is an absolute scandal. And one of the big things about Brexit is that once we do get Article 50 done and we get out of the European Union, we'll be able to get our territorial waters back. We'll be able to help our fishing industries, which will create jobs. It'll get investment into the local areas, and it'll help some of our coastal towns, including here in Hartlepool, where people have been struggling with the fact that these quotas by the European Union have really damaged those fisheries businesses. So yes, we've got to make sure we get Brexit, and yes, we've got to make sure that we support our fishing industries, we help our own industries, and the steel industry as well, I think is very, very important, because we need to be a broad-based economy. You know, we've got to be a diverse economy. We can't just rely on the City of London. We've got to be involved in manufacturing, in fishery, in steel industry, in all of the industries, because we want a real, diverse, great British economy. Okay, question 7. Foreign aid, £16 billion. Too much, discuss. Well, yes, is the answer to that question. It is far too much. I think, you know, the current foreign aid budget, which is £12 billion, it's going to go up another £4 billion over this Parliament to £16 billion, is far, far too much money to be spending on foreign aid. I think we could drastically cut that money, and we should be spending things on our NHS, on our armed forces, on the police, on the frontline services. So absolutely, I think we could cut at least 12 to 14 billion off that foreign aid budget. I think that is the right thing to do. We've got poor people who are struggling in our own country, and we should sort the problems out in our own country first before we start going around the world trying to sort everyone else's problems. Okay, next question. Heal the wounds by the recent infighting. Yes, this is going to be one of the key things for the next leader of UKIP, and if I'm fortunate enough to be voted in by you guys as the next UKIP leader, it will be my top priority to get this party united, to build a strong team, to utilise all the talents and the skills and the abilities of the people in this party. That's what we must do. You know, we've got to get into a situation where UKIP has a team of 10, 15, 20 strong candidates who can actually communicate our message and get our message to the British people, so that the British people know we're a united party, we're a team, and then we can actually start winning first past the post parliamentary elections. That's the key to our success moving forward, and that's what we need to do. Okay, question 9. Pro and anti-Farage camps get over and unite moving forward. Well, yes, I think, look, if you were a great supporter of Nigel Farage, and I think Nigel Farage was a brilliant leader of UKIP, an absolute outstanding politician, one of the greatest politicians, as I said earlier on in the campaign speech, this country has ever had. What we've got to do is the next leader has got to be a people person. We've got to bring everyone together. We've got to lead from the front. We've got to unite as a party. We've got to build that strong team. And we've got to come together because we've got bigger challenges. You know, we don't want to be fighting each other. We've got to fight Labour and the Conservatives. And the only way we're going to beat both of those parties is if we are a united, strong political party that can win elections. Okay, then the last question on here is Labour in turmoil. Good for UKIP? Absolutely. Labour are in a complete and utter mess. You know, Jeremy Corbyn is destroying the Labour Party. I can't say that I'm too upset about that, in all honesty. And look, I think the thing is about Jeremy Corbyn is he is just absolutely hopeless. You know, he can't even sit on an empty seat in a train. You know, that's how bad this guy is. And he tries to make it out as a political point that he wants to renationalise the railways. Well, you know, he's going to make his political points. But the fact is, Jeremy Corbyn is a hopeless leader of the Labour Party. This is a golden opportunity for UKIP. The Labour Party is falling apart. The Conservative Party is deeply, deeply divided. If we get our act together, if we get united as a political party, then I believe UKIP's future is absolutely unlimited. So, golden opportunity. Let's get out there. Let's start campaigning. Let's take the fight to Labour and the Conservatives. And I hope I can count on your support to be the next leader of UKIP. Thanks, guys, and thanks for the questions.